So let me ask you something. Does this make it official? Gold rigging, price rigging, precious metals, price rigging? Barclays fined for manipulating price of gold for a decade, sending bursts of sell orders to do so. It was almost, this is from Zero Hedge, once again, phenomenal work by these guys, keeping up with all this financial news. It was almost inevitable. A week after we wrote, and he links it, from Rothschild to Koch Industries, meet the people who fix the price of gold. And another link he wrote, Barclays, head of gold trading and gold fixer, is leaving the bank, which was recently. Earlier today, the UK Financial Conduct Authority finally formalized what most in the tinfoil hat or conspiracy theory communities have been knowing all along for all these years, when it announced that it fined Barclays 26 million euros for manipulating the setting of the price of gold in order to avoid paying out on a client order. Furthermore, the FCA confirmed that those inexplicable gold raids, which come out of nowhere, again, like you see everything looks good and then all of a sudden it just falls off a cliff, massive sell orders in the span of like 2 seconds. They've confirmed that those inexplicable gold raids or slam orders, which come out of nowhere and slam the price of gold with a vicious force so strong sometimes they halt the entire market, had very specific source, and that was Barclays, whose trader named, keep this name down, because there's a little something I like to call the Patriot shit list. And anybody on the shit list is not going to be doing very well when this country goes to hell and a revolution actually starts. And the rule of law gets restored and people are wanting names, right? Kicking ass and taking names. That goes for certain politicians who voted on unconstitutional measures, you name it. Completely corrupt federal judges, the ones who are complicit in these kind of things where they don't even want to look at the court case because they know the people are right, but they can't because they're part of the club and they have to continually hide this misconduct by the bankers, i.e. who now are the federal government. So, Mr. Barclays trader, Daniel James Plunkett, P-L-U-N-K-E-T-T. Write that name down. Put it on your Patriot shit list. Effective immediately. And he sent out a burst of orders, that was his typical thing, aimed at moving the price of precious metals, i.e. in this case, gold. Mr. Daniel James Plunkett, caught red-handed manipulating the price of gold, fined 23 million euros. And people in the mainstream media especially, as well as the quote-unquote so-called experts, Ivy League economists, come from the best schools in the world, who all have said, there's no manipulation, we work on a free market society here, gold and silver are also on that market, it's a free market, get lost with your conspiracy theories. Well, that's interesting, because usually there's a get out of jail free card played that says just settle this allegation with the investigative authorities, regulators. You have to admit no guilt, like they do over here in America, and just pay this fine and you're off the hook. That way the Ivy League economists and the mainstream media experts, they got on a show, expert Jeffrey Christensen, whatever his name is. Yeah, okay. What? They're going to tell you all day long the price is not manipulated, and you're not going to be able to say, yeah, but what about all these instances where like JP Morgan and all these other banks are brought up on charges of manipulating the market and precious metals too, but then they settle out of court or settle out of getting a just pay a fine and nothing. They drop the investigation and they don't even charge them with it. They just say pay the fine and you admit no guilt. Well, their response is going to be, and has been, well, they weren't charged, were they? If they're not charged, we can't say that they were charged, so they committed no crime. That's the modus operandi. So now, in this instance, of course, it comes from the UK. They're dropping hammers. They're dropping hammers now on the club for some reason. And Barclays had to pay the fine, and they didn't ask if you're admitting guilt. They are charging you, guilty as charged. You were manipulating the markets. Isn't it interesting that this guy they're talking about, that Zero Hedge said, we wrote an article saying head of the gold trading division, whatever, is stepping down, aka he's leaving his position of fixing the price of precious metals. That was what their article was about. Lo and behold, what is it, a week to 2 weeks later, just recently, it was only a week to 2 weeks ago I heard this. Now all of a sudden the charges are out in the public, everybody knows. So in other words, this guy knew in advance. Well, in advance, we're gonna get charged, we're gonna get fined, and we can't buy our way out of it this time. It's sticking this time. So we can't just pay a fine and say, you know, look the other way. So you have to step down, and you can go ahead and do that in advance of the charges coming out. So he did 2 weeks ago or so, steps down. All of a sudden, 2 weeks later, what have you, charges come out, bam, busted. So I have to say once again, I hate having to say this so many times, but I really truly hope that some of you out there, hopefully a lot of you, have taken my advice over these years of me doing these videos, telling you over and over again so many different reasons of why you have got to own precious metals, because they've been manipulating them, and when the manipulation goes away, the true free market will kick in. It's been like a spring coiled up all these years, and they've been pressing it and pressing it and pressing it, and that spring is just, it's had all it can have, and it's about to let loose. And this is another straw that is breaking the camel's back. First, they lost the London PM fix. We had Deutsche Bank, one of the 5 members that set the London PM fix for gold, step down because they've been accused of manipulating that same exact thing, price of gold. They haven't admitted nor denied just yet quite. Of course, they're denying it technically, but they have not. This case hasn't gone anywhere other than the financial authorities, again, over in the UK, Eurozone, technically speaking, investigating and basically telling everybody, yeah, we're going after them for manipulating the prices of gold. As soon as that happens, they step down from their seat, their position of setting the gold PM fix. And the silver PM fix shortly thereafter. And that only left, I think, 2, because there was only 3 total parties that were setting the price of the silver PM fix in London. Twice daily, I believe. And that now there's only 2 seats left that are taken. There was 3, so now there's 2 in the silver fix. So what happens right after that happens? We have a big announcement that the London PM fix for silver, specifically silver and only silver, which has been in existence for 112 or 117 years, is going to just abruptly stop in August of this year, a few months away from now. No real reason given, just we're throwing in the towel on that one. That's another tool that's being used to set the price of precious metals, in this case silver. So when I sit here and tell you all these years, trust me, it's being manipulated, here's proof of it, here's some more proof, here's some more proof. And every time I'm giving proof, the natural reaction is to say, well, what's the price of precious metals? I can look at that right now. Man, they're going down even more from their highs, right? Well, how is that possible? Right, so one side of your brain, this doesn't make sense. So, that's Pastor Dowell calling her, I think. I gotta run.